When you can't get time to yourself to watch the Munsters or to drink a cup of coffee, you just have to say,
give me a moment, world.
Welcome back to Give Me a Moment World. On today's show, we will be discussing a favorite topic of mine, the Munsters show. It was a show that happened to be filmed in black and white. It ran for 2 seasons, starting in 1964 on CBS, for a total of 70 episodes. And it ran at the same time as The Addams Family, which ran on ABC. Now, The Addams Family premiered 6 days before the Munsters, but the Munsters had the rights to all the characters because they were owned by Universal Studios, which owned them: Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, all those. So the Addams Family didn't have that going for them at all. So the Munsters won most of the times in the ratings, as they just had all the characters, and they were the zaniness that people were looking for over the Addams Family. I actually enjoyed both shows, but the Munsters was my go-to show. Let's see. I'm going to talk about the cast. Let's go over that real quick. Yvonne DiCarlo. She played Lily Munster. She was a well-known actress at the time, and the rest of the cast was very nervous about her when she came on, thinking that she wasn't going to be able to do the comedy, but she fit in very well. Then we had Butch Patrick, who played Eddie Munster. He was a very small boy, and he's milked that for quite a few years, but it's an interesting guy. Then we have Marilyn Munster. Now, she was played by 2 different people. First, by Beverly Owens. She played in the first 13 episodes, and then she decided that she didn't want to do that anymore. She missed her boyfriend, so she wanted to go back home. They convinced her, the rest of the cast convinced the higher-ups to let her out of the contract. She got out, she went back, and then Pat Priest came in as the new Marilyn Munster for the rest of the series. Now, Beverly played Marilyn as a young girl, definitely the younger daughter in the family. But when Pat Priest came aboard, she played the role as almost the older sister, very friendly with the mother. They were almost best friends, and it almost didn't seem like that mother-daughter bond that it had with Beverly at the beginning. But it offered a new dynamic, and it was quite interesting. Then we have Al Lewis, who portrayed Grandpa Munster, who was just a fantastic character. And the funny thing about Al Lewis, people may remember, he ran for governor of New York, and I believe it was in the 1990s. He did not win, but he did get 52,000 votes for the Green Party, which is pretty respectable. And then we have the head of the show, Herman Munster, played by Fred Gwynne. A lot of people don't realize that Fred Gwynne went to Harvard University and was an accomplished artist and illustrated and wrote many children's books later on. He put on a lot of makeup to play that role. People don't realize the toll that it took on him physically, and that's probably one of the main reasons they only did 2 seasons of that show. He had to sit for 2 hours before everyone else. He wore 40 pounds of latex and rubber for that suit. He was already 6'5" beforehand, but then they added platform shoes and a raised headpiece on him. So he was very uncomfortable all the time. They ended up having to get an airpiece to stick into his shirt to blow air in between takes to keep him cool because he overheated so often. He was chugging lemonade. So it took a big toll on him. That is why he didn't go to many public appearances. One of the big appearances that Fred Gwynne did play Herman Munster was the 1964 Thanksgiving Day Parade. Fred Gwynne later said that, it was a rough time to get through it, and he did not enjoy it. But at least that's out there. I couldn't find any video. It was rough. And they also tooled around. The family tooled around in their car, the Munster Coach. it was just a newfangled car that was developed by the same people who made the Batmobile, which is a really interesting piece of trivia. And people loved the Munster coach so much that they made the Dragula, which was like a coffin drag roadster. People loved that, and it was a hot item with models and all sorts of little toys, car toys. So there was a lot going on there. And let's see. Oh, yes, they lived at 1313 Mockingbird Lane, which is a great, great address, and it works perfectly with the spookiness of that house. And also, that's something that the house is still on the lot, that you can drive by and see it. And it still appears in shows. I do believe it appeared in Desperate Housewives. If you watch that show, you may notice the facade of it in that program. A family in Texas is so devoted to the Munsters that they recreated that house, built the entire thing, basement, attic, staircase where it opens up. It's a fantastic, amazing thing. I found it online. There's lots of pictures. They have huge Halloween parties to help cover the cost of building that house. I would love to check it out someday. It looks fantastic. A lot of people may remember the Spot, the pet that was underneath the stairs. You saw it a little bit when the flames that came out of its nose illuminated its face, and you saw its tail in another episode. That was the main pet. There was also a piranha fish, and Eddie had a bat that came around, I think, in 2 episodes. So there was just a couple pieces of trivia for you. Before the show did end, they shot my favorite movie of the Munsters. It's Munsters Go Home. I have watched this movie many, many times. Highly recommended. They go to England, and Herman Munster inherits an estate, and he becomes Lord Munster. It's a fantastic journey, and they get in all sorts of hijinks. And that actually is in color. I think it's the last thing that they did, other than the 2 series, that was quality work. And that one is actually in color, which is fantastic. They did go on to make another movie after that, Munster's Revenge. Wasn't a fan. And then there was a couple of movies in the 90s that really were just go-to-direct-to-movie presentations. Not something that I would recommend. But like I said, I'm a huge fan of the Munsters. So what I'm going to show you now is a couple of the things that I've picked up along the way for the Munsters. This is a find. There's 2 of them. One I got in a flea market, and one I found in a toy store. And I got them super cheap. This would be, obviously, Grandpa Munster and Herman Munster. There are more. There's Lily and Eddie, the whole family, and you can even get the car and everything. I'm not spending money on them. I got these for $5 a piece, and that's really all I'm going to spend for them. This I got at the flea market. I think that's why his face is a little discolored. But they're fantastic keepsakes. I like them. They're just things I hold on to. There, of course, is the episodes. We have Season 1 and Season 2. They are on DVD. You can also get a bonus pack that has them both in it. I highly recommend getting these. This is a great show and family friendly, as long as your kids don't get too scared about it being in black and white. That's kind of weird that kids nowadays don't know what to make of that. Also, like I said, Munsters Go Home, the movie. Great movie. Highly recommended. Go check this out. They came out with the comics. This is amazing. This one here is actually from the Comic-Con International San Diego from 1997. So this is a special one. If you get to that Comic-Con, you got to pick this up. And then also, we had one of their comics from the original series. This is the 3rd comic in that series. They're all fantastic. They're not as great as everything else, but a little something cool to have. I picked them up for practically nothing. Something that I have a lot of, and I'm always looking for more, the coffee cups. You may have seen them on the table in a couple episodes, and I had it with me at all times. I think I have 4 of them, or maybe 5 at this point. This is the original 1964 coffee mugs. They are incredible. They really keep everything warm way better than a mug nowadays. As you see, they've got a little spider web with the design. And each one has a picture frame with a photo in it. This one has the three of the family, Herman, Lily, and Eddie. I do have a Grandpa Munster, and I have a Herman Munster. I actually have a couple of these. I need Lily, I need Eddie, and one I've never seen is Marilyn. I don't know if they have any of the cars, because I don't know too much else about them, so that's something else I have to keep an eye out for. But those are fun, I keep them and I use them.